Radio 2.
And Monday evening on Radio 2 means Alan Dell in just a moment, the best of jazz with Humphrey Lyttelton at 8:45 and Nick Jackson's Star Sound at 9:30. The time now, 7:30.
And this is Alan Dell welcoming you to the Dance Band Days 10th Anniversary Edition.
Hello everybody, this is Jack Payne speaking. We're playing now a number called Tune In. Hallo, hallo, meine Damen und Herren, Jack Payne spielt nun Tune In.
Tune in, for if you want to while away the night or day, I simply say tune in. Tune in, tune in, tune in, where'er you'll be on land or sea, for spoken word or melody, tune in, keep tuning in. And if you want the latest news, or if you want the new reviews, you turn a switch and simply choose, out in the open or right in your home. Tune in, tune in. You just sit in your easy chair and through the air to anywhere, tune in.
Well, I chose that not only because so many of you made a point of tuning in to the first Dance Band Days programme in August 1973, but as I know from your cards and letters, you faithfully continued to tune in even though we've moved times and days more than once. Perhaps you also remember that these Dance Band Days had their origin in a semi-documentary series that I presented during the BBC's Golden Anniversary celebrations in 1972. And the first band in that series was Jack Payne and his BBC Dance Orchestra. And he was followed by this gentleman.
I suppose I ought to say hello everyone, this is Henry Hall speaking. And I think I'd like to recollect, perhaps over my life, an appreciation of the very many people who I've met. I could mention a whole list of stars, but my private thoughts go back to appreciation of so many musicians, because I find people, they think of Henry Hall, they never think of the saxophones, the violinists, the trumpet players, the trombone players, the rhythm section. And after all, a band is a team which supply you with the warmth, the colour, often ideas, and on them you make a band, and with them you start making a style.
Well, that Golden Anniversary series in 1972 included, along with Henry Hall and Jack Payne, a dozen more of the famous orchestras that were wireless attractions through 50 years. But that, of course, was only some of the cream off the top. And it was your requests for many of the other bands that prompted the new series. In the first programme on that August Sunday afternoon, I answered a few of those requests with records by Ken Snakehips Johnson, Jack Hilton, Sidney Lipton, Lou Prager, and Victor Sylvester's Jive Band, introduced by a snatch of his signature tune from the Ballroom Orchestra. After which, well, listen to what I said then.
Playing that bit of Victor Sylvester's signature tune just now, You're Dancing on My Heart, has sparked off an idea. Whose signature tune is this? It's not quite as easy to identify, perhaps.
We're gonna make those people sway to that da 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 da. We're gonna drive those blues away to that da 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 da. We had to slog and scales and exercises at an early age to be prepared to make a million people rage. We're gonna play till Judgment Day to that da 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 da. We're gonna make those people sway to that. We're
unedited version, only because I have a lot to get in during this half hour, of the signature tune of course, Jack Jackson's Dorchester Hotel Orchestra. And that was the first of a whole series of signature tunes that I posed as questions in those early shows. Pretty soon, it was apparent that certain orchestras were everybody's favourites, but happily, I was able to answer requests for less often heard bands, or perhaps less easily found record labels, sometimes with the help of you listeners who found that you had records tucked away and were prepared to let me have copies. It was, and still is, a great help, I can tell you. Thank you very much. One of those other bands was Bertini's Tower Blackpool Dance Band on the old 8-inch Eclipse records.
Who's been polishing the sun, brightening the sky today? They must have known just how I like it. Everything's coming my way. Who's been teaching all the birds how to sing around and lay? They must have known just how I like it. Everything's coming my way. Yesterday everything looked anyhow. Then I met someone and look at it now. Who's been polishing the sun, rubbing out the clouds of gray? They must have known just how I like it. Everything's coming my way.
Bertini and the Tower Blackpool Dance Band, and guest vocalist on that record, Sam Browne. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that a listener had suggested a change of format to this program to include vintage American bands. Well, the idea has well and truly been given a thumbs down by many of you. And one of the reasons is obvious. The British dance bands, be they ever so grand or ever so humble, were a very tangible part of so many people's lives. I had a letter from Harold Kay in Halifax, who has been a devoted friend of this program since the beginning, and who has supplied me with countless recordings from his own collection. He writes, "As a devotee who was around in the halcyon days, and although getting on in years, but still young enough in outlook, can I try to describe my feelings on the series? Here are my thoughts and memories. A record by Bertini brings to mind cheap train excursions at 3 shillings, that's 15p inclusive, of fare and admission to the Tower Ballroom, Blackpool. The trips were run at the start and the close of the holiday season." He goes on, "A record by Henry Hall brings back memories of the family at tea time and how all members, despite age, looked forward to those 5:15 broadcasts. A record by Ambrose or any of the other hotel orchestras gave me a great deal of excitement, knowing that for a brief period, the listener, no matter how humble or poor, could share the music of the famous and the rich."
Saturday night. We're going places just like our papas before us. We get the pick of the chorus. We're tops on Saturday night. We set the faces, and though the money is tight, we gotta go places Saturday night. When we're shaking chassis with the highbrows, blah, blah. Even lowbrow waiters raise their eyebrows, rah, rah. We're treating Saturday right. We kick the traces. Blue Monday's out of our sight because we're tops on Saturday night.
Ambrose Orchestra, there with the voice of Jack Cooper, that graced the Embassy Club in the Mayfair Hotel with its music. But, as Harold Kay said, there were other hotel orchestras that brought a sumptuous atmosphere to the wireless listener. Sidney Lipton at Grosvenor House, Carroll Gibbons at the Savoy.
Dance, little lady. Dance, little man. Dance whenever you
Gibbons, his sophisticated piano in the Savoy Hotel Orpheans with Anne Lenner and George Melachrino. Over the years of this program, it's become increasingly obvious that another band to feature the piano, or rather two pianos, is still the greatest of favourites. With Ivor Morton and Dave Kay, the Harry Roy Orchestra, especially in its Mayfair Hotel days, it is amongst the most requested. just a few out of Harry Roy's Rag Bag with Ivor Morton and Dave Kay. While the hotels proffered some of the best of British bands, so did the clubs and restaurants, the Monseigneur, the Café Anglais, the Café de Paris, the Kit Kat, and so on. And when the bands went on tour, when the West End went out to everyone, well, that's still the brightest of recollections for so many of you, remembered, of course, through records, those breakable 78s, so many of which, happily, are now available as long players. And surely there must be more to come.
Think of her, music, maestro, please. Tonight I must forget how much I need her. So, Mr. Leader, play your lilting melodies, ragtime, jazz time, swing, any old thing to help me ease the pain that solitude can bring. She used to like waltzes, so please don't play a waltz. She danced divinely, and I loved her so, but there I go tonight. I mustn't think of her, no more memories. Swing off tonight, I must forget. Music, maestro, please.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Before the fiddlers have played, before they ask us to pay the bill, and while we still have the chance, let's face the music and dance. Soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune, and then there may be teardrops to shed. So while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance, dance. Let's face the music and dance.
Lou Stone and Al Bowley, Roy Fox and Denny Dennis. And here, Billy Cotton.
The band, hear the cymbals ring, calling one and all to the martial swing. Strike up the band. There is work to be done, to be done. There's a war to be won, to be won. Come, you son of a gun, take your stand. For
fall in line, yea, bow. Come along, let's go. Hey, leader, strike up the band.
And Alan Breeze. Each year at the Festival Hall concerts, which resulted from these dance band days on record, one of our faithful listeners, Len Vine of Weybridge in Surrey, handcrafted a special greetings card, a labour of love and always a thing of beauty and interest. He's done them for other special occasions too, like this 10th anniversary. He's decorously filled the card with names of orchestras and singers, and let me read just a few. The New Mayfair Dance Orchestra, Al Starita, Jay Whidden, Primo Scala, Jack Harris, Bram Martin, Billy Merrin, Oscar Rabin, Billy Bissett, Charlie Coons, Jay Wilbur, Jack White, Geraldo, Harry Robbins, Jack Hilton, Anne Shelton, Les Allen, George Barclay and Monty Ray, Brian Lawrence, and dozens more, all taken from 1 year's programmes between July 1982 and June 83. Thank you very much, Len. And thanks as well to Harold Kay for his letter, which incidentally went on to say that a record by Joe Loss reminds him of the carefree Palais de Dance days and holidays on the Isle of Man when the band was at the Villa Marina. And a record by Louis Levy reminds him of sitting in the cheap seats with his head almost at right angles to his body. And every time he hears the March of the Movies, well, the memories of Astaire and Rogers and Dick Powell come flooding back. Louis Levy has always been a welcome inclusion in these programs, but then so has every other band and singer that we have revolved at 78 RPM or at 33 1/3, because increasingly, through these 10 years, the record companies have come to realize that there are lots of us who love our British dance bands and artists. Let's hope they continue to compile new albums for another 10 years at least, and perhaps, if life is kind, I shall be able to keep presenting your favourites each week. Thank you for all your lovely letters in the past, and let's have your requests for the future. Yes, Louis Levy and his Gaumont British Symphony, and some much of the movie memories indeed there. We're going to begin our 11th year of the Dance Band Days with more of your requests. That's next week. And coming up in the future, well, in fact, next week we shall have a little tribute to Monty Ray, I think, and very soon one to Victor Sylvester. And, you know, come to think of it, we should be remembering that it's just about 14 years since this introduced What's Next. Yes, this is the original version of our opening theme, except it was all mono in those days. Cy Oliver and his orchestra with Richard Maltby's composition, Five Flats Furnished. The recording was made for a radio transcription library called CSAC. And among other things that Cy Oliver recorded for it was this little tune titled I Like You.